Get back to that story about a collision between two trains in Johannesburg that left more than 100 people injured yesterday. Two trains collided at Eloff Extension in Selby, south of Johannesburg. Now, for more on this, we're joined by the board chairperson, the Rail Safety Regulator of South Africa, Dr. Nomusa Qunta from the Durban studios. Doctor, thank you very much indeed once again. I hope you can hear me. I just wanted to start off by finding out, in terms of the preliminary report that you received with regards to this incident, what does it say?
We haven't yet received the preliminary report, but we are expecting it before the end of the day.
But in terms of the information that you've been given, Doctor, what does it say? What is the possible cause of this?
The possible cause is, because the train were manually authorized, is that it is human error. That is what is possible. But the report that will come at the end of the day today should be able to give us direction, particularly on what exactly we need to do, or do we need to do the further investigation, or there is no need for further investigation. If it is clear from this preliminary report what actually was the cause of the accident, then we need to address the issues that will come out of the report.
So if it is manual authorization, if that's the culprit in terms of the incident, just break down for us, what is manual authorization?
Manual authorization, remember, when the trains enter into any station or into any track, they are authorized from the control room. It's not the drivers. When we say human factors, sometimes people tend to think that we're talking about the drivers of the train, but we're talking about the people that are sitting at the control room that will telephonically or find ways to authorize the train to enter into various tracks at specific times. So in this case, one can assume that from what has happened, if there's collision, it means that two trains were in the same track at the same time. That should not have happened. But if they were authorized manually, it means different people at different control rooms authorized the trains for the same track to be. That is why they ended up colliding. So that is what we mean by manual authorization, because of the challenges that we all know about signaling, that we always have challenges with that, and it's a matter that is still on the agenda that PRASA is actually working hard to address.
Well, I want to talk about these challenges, and one of them, as you mentioned now, is signaling. The other one we understand is aging infrastructure. Firstly, let's start with the signaling issue. Why wasn't that system working?
There are various reasons why it's not working, but the biggest challenge that we have, or that we are aware of, is that the cable theft, which is a matter that has been discussed for over a long time, that people steal the cables on the tracks because the rail are accessible to the communities around where the rail track is. Then people go in there and steal the cables. And when that happens, then it disturbs the entire operation, because all the time PRASA has to have the money or the budget to keep fixing those things. As a result of that, that is why you then have the signaling challenges, that you now and then have the challenges. Instead of, for instance, increasing the automation and the signaling, we're having the problem that instead manual authorization are increasing. These are the matters that we are dealing with PRASA. And secondly, the issue of the ailing infrastructure, it is a big one, but there are plans. As we engage with the operator, PRASA is the operator, as we engage with them, we are now satisfied with the plans that they are currently putting in place, which I'm sure you would have heard from the Minister of Transport alluding to, that there is a 10-point plan that they've put forth to address these issues of the ailing infrastructure, starting from the 3 months from now, what you're going to be seeing from a year from now, 2 years, 3 years, and so on. So we are positive that there will be changes for the better in this area. And I know that it's difficult for the viewers to believe this, because this has been happening over time. But sitting as a regulator here, I'm looking at the interaction that we've just started with PRASA, that the matters are now being taken serious. The stabilization at PRASA is one of the critical matters that I would say give us some kind of comfort that things are now going to happen.
Doctor, can you just break down these plans in terms of the aging infrastructure? Because thousands of commuters, use the trains. I mean, PRASA operates commuter rail service through Metro Rail, transporting about 1.7 million passengers on weekdays in major metropolitans, isn't it? Can you give them confidence that using the train is one of the most safest ways of travel?
The study a number of studies have been conducted, and if you look at the incidents, though you have, for instance, in this case, you had 112 people injured, but trains remain the safest mode of land-based transport, because even though the incidents are happening, if you look at the quantum, the number of people or commuters that are using train is a lot of them compared to any other land-based mode of transport. It does remain it is still the safest of all the land-based transport mode, yet we are concerned by the incidents that are taking place, that are happening, like the one that has just happened. And we know that at the beginning of the year, we had 2 others that happened. So we are concerned because our vision is to work towards 0 occurrences. So that is what we have realized as a regulator, that we can only achieve if we work closely with the operators, not necessarily to weep all the time, but to find out common solutions, how we can provide some kind of direction. And as long as the operators are cooperating and there is a common understanding about, the importance and the way in which these incidents affect the commuters, the passengers and their families, because of the importance of the class of people that are using this train. Yeah. So for us, the issue of the investment in the ailing infrastructure is key. Those are the discussions that I personally have had with the chairman of the board of PRASA. Even yesterday we had a meeting. Yeah. We were discussing all these things, all the special conditions that as the regulator we have given unto them to say, we want you to meet this condition and we will be monitoring those. The board of PRASA, which the minister has recently put in place, has committed to be sort of hands-on to work on these things, to work with the regulator. So that is the reason that we are positive that at this time around, the public will see the decline in this. Well, let's talk about PRASA, and in terms of its safety permit, is it still valid? Yes, we've recently issued a permit. You would be aware that their permit had expired, but we recently have issued a permit for another 12 months. It is therefore valid. So when, Doctor, when incidents like this happen, why have we issued the permit in the light? Sorry, Doctor, to cut you off, but when incidents happen like this, is those safety permits re-looked at? Yes. We do look at them, at the safety permit. Even when the incident like this happened, remember we've just issued this incident that happened yesterday. The permit is not even a month old that has been issued to PRASA. So the question would be, how was the permit issued? There were special conditions that the regulator has given to PRASA before issuing the permit. And PRASA met all those special conditions. What the regulator is now doing is the monitoring of those conditions according to the information that we've been given and the plans that PRASA has submitted to the regulator. How many railway incidents on average happen annually here in South Africa? I wouldn't be precisely sure about that, but if I'm looking last year, well, because we've got categories, you've got derailment, you've got, level crossing, you've got, in terms of categories and the significance of the incidents, I can't give you a precise answer that will cover them all. But if we're looking at the incidents that are like the one that happened yesterday, you would maybe have 3 times or 4 times a year, I would say, but I'm not really sure. Yeah. Would you know in terms of fatalities? Yes, in terms of fatalities, it's very rare that you will have a fatalities. Like in the incident yesterday, there were no fatalities reported. There were, out of the 112 people, only 5 had serious injuries, but there were no fatalities. And it normally happens in that fashion. So we have not had so many of the fatalities in the past. They might have happened once or twice, but it is not often.
Okay, we know about aging.
That is why we keep saying that trains.
Sorry, Doc. We know about aging infrastructure. What other safety deficiencies have you picked up through your investigations over the last couple of years?
The point system, the overhead track equipment, those are all the issues that relates to the ailing infrastructure. They relate to, the main thing is the signaling, the overhead track equipment, the point system, and the rolling stock itself. So those are the things that have been the issue from the past that still remain the issues today that we are expecting the operator, which is PRASA in this case, to be dealing with on a daily basis and to make sure that the resources and the budget that is available is made to, is targeting these areas. But one of the important things that I think is important that we should mention is that the issue of the human resources or people, you know, for the critical grades is one of the areas that we've established. That is one area. That is why we've been able to engage or to put this as a special condition with PRASA to make sure that there are no vacancies for the critical grades that are the people that are working with the trains, because if they don't have the people, then the problems are going to occur. Yeah. But if there are people who are trained for those critical grades, then they are able, the issues will be addressed. So we are looking forward to the implementation of the plan that PRASA has given us, and the regular maintenance of the infrastructure, the trains. We've even asked as a regulator PRASA to give us the plan of how they service, or the maintenance plan. In the maintenance plan, for instance, I can say that the plan, the documentation that they've given us as the regulator is that their stock is serviced every second week, which means twice a month their service are taking place on that ailing infrastructure, because if the infrastructure is ailing, then the maintenance becomes critical. It must be regularly maintained. And also one of the things is, you know, the running of the trains on schedule plays a very important role in making sure that it addresses the issues of overcrowding, because then people are not going to rush into one particular train because they are late. But if they are scheduled on time, then they are able to, people are able to come. They know that the trains are scheduled on time, and therefore they will be moving at the time that the passengers want to arrive at their destination.
What about the issue of torching of trains, Doctor? Do you have any information with regards to that? I know we had some incidents in the Western Cape.
The torching of train happens because the passengers are angry. The reason why you have that, when they are angry for various reasons. If the train, for instance, is late and it gets in there, people are already sort of angry. That is where the torching of train comes up. Or there's overcrowding, it's full, people can't get in there, then they have those kind of frustration. So it comes from there. But of course, it's one of the areas where we need to be educating the passengers to say those challenges that exist, they do not require them to ban the train, because by banning the train, you are reducing even the infrastructure that is available. You're creating more problems, because now more money must now be invested back into repairs, must be invested back into getting the new rolling stock. So it creates more problems than solving the problems that we are trying to do, or that the operators are trying to do in terms of getting new infrastructure, and also making sure that there are maintenance plans for the existing infrastructure.
Dr. Qunta, thank you very much indeed for your time as well as your insight. That was Board Chairperson of the Rail Safety Regulator of South Africa, Dr. Nomusa Qunta.